A Florida retiree budget looks safe until fees rise by double digits. The HOA sends a surprise $25,000 bill, and your dream forever home starts to feel like a financial trap with no exits. That is why so many who moved into 55-plus communities for peace and predictability are suddenly trapped, facing escalating costs, board decisions they cannot control, and a shrinking market if they try to sell. How did paradise become impossible to leave? And who is really profiting from this retirement illusion? Monthly dues in Florida's 55-plus communities rarely stay put for long. The official range starts at around $250 per month for inland homeowners associations, climbing to $600 or more in coastal or condo-heavy developments. On paper, these fees cover basic landscaping, clubhouse access, security, and sometimes cable or internet. But the line items do not end there. Annual increases are baked in. 4 to 12% is standard. That means a $300 monthly fee can quietly become $340 the next year, $380 the year after, and cross $500 within a decade, even before any special assessment hits. In the villages, amenity fees track the consumer price index, so every uptick in inflation translates directly into higher costs for residents. On top of the world, and Dell websites advertise affordable dues, but their budgets show similar annual hikes, and those increases compound. Sun City Center's older neighborhoods, once known for low monthly costs, now face some of the fastest-growing dues as reserves run thin and contracts get renegotiated. When Social Security's cost of living adjustment averages 2 to 3%, but homeowners association fees jump 8 to 12%, retirees on fixed incomes start to feel the squeeze. A spreadsheet of household expenses tells the story. What looked like a stable, predictable line item at move-in can balloon into the single largest monthly bill after a few years. And these are just the recurring costs. None of this includes the risk of sudden one-time assessments for roofs, roads, or insurance shocks. Across Florida, the math is relentless. Even before the first special assessment letter arrives, the basic arithmetic of homeowners association and condo dues can quietly tip a retiree's budget from comfortable to stretched. For many, the realization comes too late. The fees do not just rise, they accelerate year after year, and the promise of predictability starts to fade. A single envelope in the mailbox can upend everything. Special assessments, one-time cash demands arrive without warning, and the numbers are staggering. In Florida's 55-plus communities, these bills can range anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 per household. It is not a rare event. In Sun City Center, 2023 brought roof and stormwater repair assessments that topped $20,000 for many residents. Some scraped together savings, others took out loans, and a few faced the threat of liens if they could not pay within 90 days. The board minutes revealed that underfunded reserves had been a known issue for years, but homeowners only learned the full extent when the demand letters landed. In Naples, insurance premiums for master condo policies doubled, and in some cases tripled, in a single renewal cycle. One Naples Reserve community saw its policy jump 180%, forcing a $10,000 special assessment on every unit. Gulf Breeze Condo in Cape Coral hit residents with a $42,500 bill after their insurer pulled out, leaving only a single high-cost option. These are not isolated stories. Post-Surfside reforms have forced associations statewide to fund repairs and reserves much faster than planned. The only way to raise millions overnight is to bill the homeowners directly. Even inland, where hurricanes are less of a threat, aging infrastructure and rising construction costs have led to assessments for roofs, roads, and elevators. On top of the world, and Dell Webb communities, which once promised low fees, have issued $5,000 to $15,000 assessments after reserve studies exposed funding gaps. The pattern is clear. When reserves run short or insurance collapses, the burden lands squarely on retirees, often with no payment plan, no negotiation, and no escape. For anyone on a fixed income, a five-figure assessment can turn a stable retirement into a scramble for survival. Picture a retired couple, let's call them Carol and Jim, who moved to Sun City Center with a carefully balanced budget. Their Social Security checks cover $3,400 a month. At first, the math worked. $950 for the mortgage, $400 for homeowners association dues, $300 for utilities, $250 for insurance, and the rest for groceries, prescriptions, and a little fun. The promise of predictability felt real. But over just a few years, the spreadsheet shifted. Homeowners association dues did not just creep up, they surged, outpacing every cost of living bump in their Social Security. Insurance doubled after one bad storm season. A special assessment for roof repairs landed in the mailbox, $22,000 due in 90 days. Suddenly, the hidden costs were obvious. Now the numbers do not add up. Housing costs alone eat up more than half of their monthly income. They cut back on eating out, then on groceries, then on visits to the grandkids. The emergency fund is gone, savings drained to meet the assessment deadline. Jim puts off a dental procedure. Carol cancels her physical therapy. Every new bill brings anxiety. What if the board announces another assessment? Or insurance jumps again? This is not just about dollars and cents. The sense of safety and predictability, the promise that drew them here, has vanished. The spreadsheet deficit line is not just a number. It means real sacrifices. Carol and Jim are not alone. In dozens of Florida's 55-plus communities, retirees report the same pattern. The budget that worked at move-in becomes impossible to balance. More than 55% of their income now goes to housing, fees, and assessments. For many, the emotional toll is as sharp as the financial one. They start to wonder, who decides these costs? And what power do they really have to stop the spiral? Every home in Florida's biggest retirement communities comes with a stack of paperwork, covenants, bylaws, and one document many newcomers overlook: the Community Development District, spelled CDD. Unlike a city or county, a community development district is a special purpose government created by the developer, empowered to build roads, lay pipes, run utilities, and maintain parks. It does not answer to a mayor or city council. Instead, it is run by a board. And in the early years, that board is controlled almost entirely by the developer. The real power lies in how votes are counted. In the villages, on top of the world, and Webb communities, the developer holds Class B voting rights. As long as the developer owns unsold lots, their votes far outweigh those of everyday homeowners, sometimes by a factor of 10 or more. That means the developer can set assessments, approve budgets, and select board members, all with a majority that is locked in until a certain percentage of homes are sold. For residents, the CDD assessment shows up as a separate line on the property tax bill. It is not voluntary. It funds everything from new roads to clubhouse renovations, and the amount can change year to year based on decisions made in board meetings where the developer's interests often come first. In the villages, this system allows the Morse family to steer the direction of the community, setting the pace for expansion and the size of annual amenity fees. In Webb's newer sites, Pulte Group can retain control for years, shaping budgets and contracts before residents ever get a real vote. The rules are written into the founding documents. Class B clauses spell out exactly when and on what terms the developer must hand over control, usually after a fixed number of years or when a certain percentage of lots are sold. Until that handover happens, residents have little say over major financial decisions. Even the boundaries of the community development district, what land is included and what is assessed, can be changed by a developer-controlled board. This layer of private governance operates quietly in the background, but its reach is vast. It sets the rules of the game before most homeowners even realize they are playing. The result is a system where the people who live in the community are often subject to decisions made by the company that built it. Long after the sales office is closed and the welcome banners are gone. Missing a payment in a Florida 55-plus community does not just mean a late fee. It sets off a chain reaction that can threaten a retiree's home. The rules are spelled out in the covenants and bylaws, documents signed at closing, and often unread in full. If a homeowner falls behind on dues or an assessment, the homeowners association can file a lien against the property. That lien is not just a warning. Under Florida law, it attaches to the home, accrues interest and legal fees, and can escalate to foreclosure if left unpaid. It starts with a notice, formal, stamped, and delivered by certified mail. The language is blunt: pay the overdue amount, plus interest and costs, or risk losing the home. In Sun City Center, dozens of retirees received such notices after the 2023 roof assessment. Some scrambled to borrow from family or refinance, but for those unable to pay, the Homeowners Association moved to record liens in the county's official records. The process is rigid. After a statutory waiting period, often as short as 30 days, the association's attorney can file for foreclosure, just like a bank would for a missed mortgage. The property can be sold at auction, with proceeds first covering the unpaid fees, legal costs, and penalties. In the villages and on top of the world, board minutes detail cases where residents lost homes over debts that started as a few $1,000s in unpaid dues or fines. The power to fine is not limited to missed payments. Associations can levy daily penalties for rule violations, like an unapproved paint color, a prohibited pet, or a satellite dish in the wrong spot. If fines and fees stack up, they are added to the ledger and the lien grows. For retirees on fixed incomes, the threat is real and immediate. A single missed payment can snowball into legal action. The law gives associations broad authority. They can collect through liens, garnish proceeds from a sale, or force foreclosure. Most homeowners do not realize the gravity until the first certified letter arrives. By then, the options are limited: pay, borrow, or risk losing the place they thought would be their last home. Legal experts warn that these enforcement rights are standard across Florida's 55-plus communities. Every association, whether in Webb, Sun City Center, or a coastal condo in Naples, has the statutory power to protect its budget by seizing homes. The paperwork is public record: lien notices, foreclosure filings, and court dockets filled with cases where retirees were forced out not by a bank, but by their own community association. The result is a system where missing a payment is not just a financial setback. It can become an existential threat to housing security. Insurance renewal season in Florida's retirement hubs now brings genuine dread. In Naples Reserve, a 55-plus community near the coast, the Homeowners Association treasurer stared at the new invoice. Last year's master policy cost $120,000. This year, the premium was $336,000. That is a 180% increase, not over a decade, but in a single renewal cycle. The jump forced a $10,000 special assessment on every homeowner just to keep the insurance active. Naples is not alone. Pelican Bay's premium doubled to $4.2 million. In Cape Coral, a similar spike led to bills of $42,500 per unit. These are not outliers. They are part of a statewide pattern. The Florida Office of Insurance Regulation reported an average 107% increase in condominium master policy premiums between 2022 and 2023, but coastal hotspots saw even steeper climbs. The culprit is insurance carriers fleeing the state, leaving fewer options and driving up costs for the policies that remain. Some associations lost coverage altogether and had to scramble for any insurer willing to write a policy at any price. When only one carrier is left, negotiation disappears. Boards are forced to accept whatever number lands on the renewal letter and then pass that cost straight to homeowners. Palm Beach communities faced a different kind of shock. Some insurers demanded full annual payment up front, no monthly installments, and no grace period. For retirees on fixed incomes, that meant draining reserves or taking out loans simply to keep their homes insured. In Sarasota and Fort Myers, boards held emergency meetings to approve six-figure wire transfers just to avoid coverage lapses. The volatility is not just about hurricanes. New state mandates passed after the Surfside collapse require engineering inspections and fully funded reserves for structural repairs. That means more expensive policies, higher minimum coverage, and zero tolerance for deferred maintenance. The result is even communities miles from the coast, like Sun City Center, saw insurance costs double, then triple. Side by side, the numbers are hard to process. One year, a $1,200 premium. The next, a $3,400 premium. For a retiree, that is not a budget tweak, it is a crisis. And when insurance costs explode, every other line item in the budget is squeezed. Boards have no choice but to levy assessments or hike dues, and homeowners have no way to opt out. In Florida's 55-plus communities, the promise of predictable costs is now hostage to a market that can change overnight, with no warning and no recourse. A snowbird from Michigan unlocks her mailbox in Cape Coral and finds a letter stamped "Urgent" in red. Inside, the condo board spells it out. Every owner must pay $42,500 within 60 days. The reason is blunt. Last year's insurer pulled out, leaving the building uncovered. Only one carrier would write a new policy, and the premium is more than double what the community paid before. The board minutes show the scramble, emergency meetings, late-night phone calls, and a vote that passed by a single margin. There is no payment plan, and there is no time to appeal. The assessment is due. The board can place a lien on the unit. Some residents break down in tears at the next meeting. One owner who spends half the year up north puts her condo on the market for $60,000 less than she paid, hoping to escape before the deadline. The listings sit for months. Buyers are wary of another round of assessments, and the insurance crisis is front-page news. A retired couple next door considers cashing out a certificate of deposit, but the penalty wipes out a year's worth of interest. Others ask adult children for help, or try to refinance, only to learn that banks will not lend against a property facing a sudden $42,500 assessment. The board's hands are tied. The new law requires full payment up front. The insurer will not accept installments. The assessment is not for a pool upgrade or a new roof. It is just to keep the building insured against the next hurricane. One resident, a former accountant, pores over the board's spreadsheets and finds the reserves were already running low. For years, the association kept dues artificially low to attract buyers, but now the shortfall has landed all at once. The sense of security that brought people to Cape Coral is gone. The letter in the mailbox is not just a bill, it is a warning that the safety net can vanish overnight. For retirees on fixed incomes, there is no easy way to raise $42,500. The only options are to pay, borrow, or try to sell into a market flooded with desperate listings. In a matter of weeks, a single insurance renewal has turned a retirement dream into a financial emergency, and the path out is blocked on all sides. A sudden health scare in Florida's retirement belt rarely means immediate help. In Marion County, home to On Top of the World, and Ocala's growing web of 55-plus communities, Routine waits for a specialist now stretch from 4 to 8 weeks. Cardiologists, rheumatologists, and dermatologists are booked solid, with new patient appointments often pushed out past the next calendar page. Hospital administrators admit the retiree boom has outpaced the medical workforce. Marion County's population has jumped more than 15% since 2020, fueled by thousands of new residents in age-restricted enclaves. But the number of practicing specialists has barely budged. The story repeats in the villages, where the population now tops 150,000 and keeps climbing. Here, emergency room visits have become a test of patience. Non-urgent cases at UF Health, the village's hospital, average 3 hours from arrival to seeing a doctor. During peak winter months, waits can run even longer as seasonal residents flood the system. Medicare hospital dashboards confirm these numbers. ER departments in Sumter and Marion counties consistently rank among the slowest in Florida for door-to-doctor time. For retirees, the consequences are personal. A fall, a sudden fever, or chest pain means hours in a crowded waiting room, sometimes with only a plastic chair for comfort. If a primary care doctor refers a patient to a specialist, the calendar offers no relief. Appointments are booked out for weeks, sometimes months. Some residents describe missing windows for physical therapy or delaying procedures because the system simply cannot keep up. The demand is relentless. On top of the world alone added more than 3,000 new residents over 2 years, but the number of local specialists has not caught up. Hospital expansions are planned, but ground has not broken. State health surveys show that over 40% of Marion County specialists report appointment backlogs longer than a month. In the villages, local news is filled with stories of retirees waiting 3 hours or more in the ER, especially during the busy season. Compared to mixed-age cities like Tampa, where specialist waits are closer to 2 weeks, and ER waits average under 90 minutes. The difference is stark. In Florida's retirement hubs, the promise of safety and quick care is undermined by the sheer volume of need. When health changes overnight, the system's delays can turn a manageable problem into a serious risk. For many, this is the reality hidden behind the brochures. The next available doctor might be weeks away, and the next emergency often means settling in for a long wait. Florida's 55-plus communities are sold as havens of ease. Single-story homes, golf cart lanes, and everything within reach. In the villages, the golf cart is king. Residents zip from home to club to doctor's office, the whole town mapped around winding cart paths and wide streets. For those with steady hands and good vision, it works. What happens when eyesight dims or balance falters? The distances that once felt trivial become daunting. Public transit barely exists, and rideshare apps rarely reach the far edges. A simple grocery run can be 1 mile in the open sun with no shade and few places to rest. In Sun City Center, what started as a compact walkable enclave has sprawled outward. Newer homes sit farther from clubhouses and shops, and the promise of convenience fades for anyone who cannot drive. The nearest pharmacy or social hall might be half a mile away, accessible only by golf cart or a neighbor's kindness. Inside these homes, the floor plans often reveal another set of hurdles. Many units have step-up entries, narrow halls, and bathrooms too small for a walker or wheelchair. On top of the world, single-story living is the norm, but older sections feature sunken living rooms and high shower lips. Those details once seemed modern, but now they trip up aging residents. Retrofitting for ramps or wider doors is expensive, and homeowners associations often limit what changes are allowed. In Naples and Sarasota, condo buildings from the 1970s and the 1980s rarely include elevators or accessible lobbies. For someone recovering from surgery or living with chronic illness, a single flight of stairs can mean days of isolation. The design of these communities assumes that independence lasts forever. When a spouse's health fails or a resident stops driving, the gap between home and daily needs grows wider. Shuttle vans exist in some high-end neighborhoods like Webb, but rides are limited, must be scheduled in advance, and cover only select destinations. Most residents are left to navigate a patchwork of favors, paid rides, or long walks in the heat. Each errand becomes a test of endurance, a reminder that the community was not built for frailty or decline. As mobility fades, the space that once promised freedom becomes a cage. And for those hoping to move, the very features that once sold the home now make it harder to sell, as buyers look for accessible layouts and modern amenities. The dream of a forever home gives way to the reality of a space that no longer fits the person living inside. A real estate listing in a Florida 55-plus community can linger on the market for months, sometimes even close to a year. In Webb Stone Creek, a villa priced at $320,000 sat unsold for 212 days in 2023. By contrast, a similar home just outside the age-restricted gates, the same price and the same square footage, sold in 75 days. MLS data tells the same story in the Villages and Sun City Center. 3-bedroom listings often pass the 200-day mark, while comparable non-age-restricted homes in Marion and Hillsborough counties move in less than half that time. The reason starts with simple math. Homes in 55-plus communities are legally restricted to buyers over a certain age, usually 55 or older. That means every listing competes for a much smaller pool. The next generation in line, Gen X, is about 11 million people, smaller than the baby boomer cohort. Fewer eligible buyers means less demand, especially as more retirees look for mixed-age neighborhoods or want to stay closer to family. Realtors in Tampa Bay and Ocala report that Gen X buyers often skip age-restricted listings entirely, citing high fees and concerns about future resale. The gap grows wider when new developments open nearby. In the Villages, longtime owners say buyers now ask about insurance costs, special assessments, and the age of the amenities before making an offer. A home that might have drawn a bidding war in 2021 can now sit untouched as buyers compare it to newer options with lower monthly fees and more modern construction. In Sun City Center, listings from 2023 show a cluster of similar condos all waiting for a buyer. Their days on market count ticking upward with each week. A seasoned local realtor puts it plainly. It is not that these homes are bad. The market is just saturated, and the buyer pool is shrinking. If you need to sell quickly because of health, finances, or family, you are at the mercy of the calendar. Sometimes the only way out is to cut the price and hope for the best. The numbers on the MLS do not lie. Selling a home in a 55-plus community is no longer a sure thing. For many retirees, the hardest part is not moving in, it is getting out. Many feel trapped. A home that took a lifetime to pay off can become a bargaining chip in a desperate negotiation. When costs spiral and the only way out is to sell, retirees in Florida's 55-plus communities often discover the market is not on their side. Agents call it the fire sale reality. In 2023, the average price cut for a resale in a major 55-plus community hit $18,000, sometimes more. The stories behind those numbers are rarely told. A retired teacher in Webb Stone Creek watched her villa sit for 7 months, dropping the price 3 times before a buyer finally appeared. Each reduction carved away at her savings, money she once planned to use for medical care or to help her grandchildren. In Cape Coral, a snowbird slashed her condo's asking price by $60,000 after a special assessment landed, hoping to escape before the next hurricane season. Even then, her listing lingered, surrounded by others just like it, each one a silent ledger of lost equity. Realtors in the Villages and Sun City Center keep spreadsheets tracking how many homes are forced into discounts. The patterns are clear. A sudden health crisis, a new assessment, or a spike in insurance leaves retirees with no leverage. They cannot wait for the perfect offer. They have to sell, and buyers know it. The price drops, stack up, $10,000 here, $25,000 there until the final sale is a fraction of what the owner once imagined. For many, the proceeds barely cover moving expenses or the deposit at an assisted living facility. Families gather around kitchen tables, weighing whether to cut deeper or hold out. Adult children scan listings, watching values erode week by week. The emotional cost is harder to measure than the financial one, but both are real. In Florida's retirement hubs, the exit door is open, but the price of walking through it is steeper than most ever expected. Every year, over 1,000 Florida retirees file state complaints about HOA or condominium disputes, yet the underlying traps go far beyond paperwork. As insurance rates soar and buyer pools shrink, these communities risk becoming financial quicksand, not safe havens. The real challenge now isn't finding paradise. It is making sure the exit door is not locked from the inside. Let me know your thoughts and experiences in the comments below.